I'm gonna talk about the warrior class for a minute. If anyone's been on the forums recently, you know, that place, you might be wondering, with all the people crying about warrior right now, why you haven't heard me cry about warrior in specific, or you might have even heard me say that I think warrior is fine. I want to talk more in depth about that. I figure I'll give my 2 cents in this because I have a completely different perspective as to what should be and what shouldn't be in this game when it comes to mechanics and whatever. I've always said, like, the foundation is good. Basic movement, gravity when you jump, how that feels, and obviously active dodge. All that I've always thought was good, but I always thought that they messed it up when it came down to actual skill design, especially when expansions came out. I actually don't think, aside from, let's look here. This is just a random build that I have. Let's look at defense straight line. We go straight to it. Aside from the 300-second shit, they said they were gonna fix, which I knew immediately that wasn't gonna happen. Just like they didn't finish the elite spec trade-offs that they suddenly 2 years later after the fact decided they were gonna implement now. Anyways, but look at this, 300-second trait lines, that's not fixed. Another 300-second here. This is the case with all classes, but where it has like 2 here and whatever else. And then you got stuff like armored attack, which can use like a secondary effect. And then if you're not using mace, you got kind of no other options. And then obviously that's the 300-second trait. The reason why I still run defense line is because fuck Condi. Give me that cleanse, bro. Adrenal health is still good. And then I just like the synergy of it more. In truth, really, it just comes down to fuck Condi, if I'm being real. And on that note of Condi, the other problem, the change to resistance, we got no compensation at all for the resistance change. Stances used to be good because they weren't boons, right? It was just a straight up effect that you had. And it was a cool, I guess, warrior specific, I think it was, yeah, side thing that warrior had. I think that's how it worked. I forget, it was so long ago. Berserker stance used to be good. There's so much Condi, because the problem with Condi is it comes from everywhere and anywhere. It comes from too many different places. Sigils, fucking passive traits, skills already having 2 to 3 Condis on the one button press. We're gonna play a little game here. I've got a clip here. And without cheating, without opening this and looking at the skill information, I want you to guess how many Condis are applied from this one action that's about to happen here. Wrong. Fucking 9. 9 Condis from one skill. What was that? Mace or Axe 2? Let's talk about Axe 2 real quick. The base skill itself only does 2 Condis, right? And that's for to Guild Wars 2 standards, fine. I'll accept this, right? But again, Condis come from everywhere and anywhere. But my point is, give us resistance in a better place than the friggin' utility slots. If you're not going to give us compensation or something to deal with this mess, because you cannot deny this game is messy as hell. What else is the problem here? Obviously banners is like the most PvE shit. Like the only good banner is battle standard, because again it comes down to wasting slots again. My point was warrior is good or it's fine in the sense that even though a lot of this is trash, the idea that at the end of the day you only pick one of them, that at least one of them is good, is what is kind of not saving it, because it doesn't help diversity obviously. But the problem isn't warrior being bad or weak, it's literally everything else that they're allowing to exist in this game that is bad for the game, that people are trying to act like is not bad for the game. And that's the trash litter that just lingers on the ground. I spoke about this a little bit already, but that's where I'm at with warrior. I don't think it's actually weak. I think they just need to fix the 300-second shit, buff this a little bit, dodge march slightly, like nothing huge, and then armored attack, or just give us better choices here for competition. And then after that, I think the only other problem is, let's take a look at the arms trait line. That the reason why, okay, so discipline, quality of life trait line, you just have to take it, right? It's got the 5-second weapon swap, it's got the movement, 25% passive movement speed, and it's got other good stuff with like the burst and stuff like that. So you always take discipline. I like defense. I seem to be the only one that likes defense. The only problems with defense is what I just said. Tactics, you got, you know, your shouts, heals, got some sustain in there, and a little bit of damage stuff too. Then you got strength. Obviously people like strength. Strength is very popular. It's got the peak performance for rampage and physical skills. So bull charge and mending heal. So you're lowering the cooldown of an already good heal, and you're getting an offensive bonus here while getting a good defensive bonus from the healing slot. Forceful Greatsword, you get traded Greatsword, which is another favorite weapon. And then people take Might Makes Right. I take Berserker's Power sometimes, depending on which weapon is being used. but might makes right. That got nerfed because the sustain was too high or something. It seems to be like Warrior plays by a completely different rule set. ANET is terrified of Warrior being like too effective. My guess is that they think Warrior is so easy to play, so they have to be very careful of it not being statistically too strong or whatever, which I would like to see any of them try and play Warrior if they think it's easy. Warrior's like all fundamentals. So let's, as I was saying, so the trait lines. Oh, there's this freaking weird ass trait, body blow. Give us 1 stack of bleed. Okay. What are our CC weapons though? Mace, a power weapon, hammer, a power weapon, shield, you know, a power weapon. Why is this doing? Anyways, there's a lot of it's skill design and trait design that makes this game weird as hell in places. Otherwise, it could be playing so much cleaner than it does. Anyhow, so aside from that little weird shit, strength is a good trait line for the traits that you do end up selecting, which is kind of, for me, the same thing with defense. There are things that do help my builds, but that brings me to my main point of the reason why arms is easily the worst trait line. It's the only offensive trait line, if you want to call it that. What offensive trait line? It should be strength and arms, right? Seen as the offensive trait lines. The point is, arms is the only trait line that's offensive that has 0 defensive value at all. Strength still has defensive value, which is why it's good. It has might makes right if you choose to take it, and it's got the reduction of cooldown in peak performance for taking mending on a 16-second heal. Tactics, same thing. It's got some offensive stuff in there that will help you. Basically, you need at least 1 defensive trait line, if not 2 right now, because everybody in this game plays almost maximum scared because the game mode is conquest, and they can just outlive everybody to death. That's the style of gameplay everybody goes for, or most people. Arms trait line, 0 defensive. All it does is it tries to be like a Condi, somewhat power, well not power, I guess in the form of critical hits, but because there's 0 defensive value in here, it's super hard to take it. You'd have to go like discipline and like either defense or tactics and then arms. Because if you try and do it any other way, it's like hard to do. Oftentimes, even when you're trying to do a Condi build, it's still better to take strength. So this needs like either some defensive value worked into it or something. The Fury is good, but outside of this, Warrior is lacking Fury because it's impossible almost to take this trait line. So then you got Condi here. Unsuspecting Foe is good. This is like Blade Master, Expertise again. It's like Bleeding, the weakest Condi, you know, 1 in a 4 second. So yeah, that's the problem with arms. So outside of that, in my opinion, those are like the only things that are wrong with Warrior. Warrior, okay, so if this is high, this is low. Warrior's here where I think everything should be. The problem is most meta things, because they're making all the mess and it's so effective to play that way, they're sitting up here in toxic territory for the game's health. But again, people like to play like that or enjoy it or don't think that's a problem. So this becomes seen as like good, and then this becomes seen as bad, when this is where we should be aiming. Like everything should be good, but not cancer. Like, so yeah, I'm of the opinion that Warrior isn't actually bad. It's more so that there's too many things that exist in this game that shouldn't, as far as like mostly down to like how some skills work, and I guess the traits and things, the sigils and all that, and animations and whatever else. But yeah, I don't think Warrior's weak. If under the idea that they're never gonna fix the toxic stuff up here, then yes, Warrior should be buffed in the resistance department, for example. Unless you make the ranged options better, Longbow's like alright, aside from I don't like the auto attack because it's like flimsy. The only other good option that I think is good right now, a lot of people don't want to play this way. It was essentially, I won't do my version because motherfuckers skip it because it wasn't full training wheels, but I'll use the heel breaker as an example. When that was big, when that was useful, it's because it played super safe. But obviously if you roll a Warrior, that's not the play style you have in your head of what you're going for, what you want to play if you select Warrior as a class. So the option was there, but there's still a problem with Warrior because that was like the only option at the time. So I think the game mode is to blame. Skill design, again, Warrior play is way too honest compared to all the other classes, and I don't think that should change. I don't think you fix this by making Warrior spammy or weird like all the other shit that's going on, but they're not going to fix that. So what you do is, because Warrior's essentially double melee, or you just help out their double melee options by making some kind of a way to deal with the mess, because the mess is probably here to stay, I would guess. Yeah, I think resistance would help most. This would be good. It's just hard to take. But yeah, that, generally speaking, before I make this video too long, is where I think the problems are with like warrior and like, you know, the certain areas of the game I spoke about. I'm out. Let's play Gatlick. Whatever.